Camel Up, a family weight board game which the box says is for 2 to 8 players, but I'll dispute that in a minute. The camels are going to be racing around the pyramid by taking dice from the pyramid and moving the camel that many spaces. As players, we're not racing the camels, but we're betting on which one is going to win. You can bet on the overall winner or the overall loser of a race. You can bet on which camel is going to be winning after a certain part of the race or a leg. You can also play a desert or mirage token in order to try and influence which camel is most likely to win. You can also take a dice in order to move one of the camels. Oh, and by the way, camels can ride on each other's backs. In Camel Up, player interaction is very high, because the first player to correctly guess who will be winning the leg gains more money than the next player to make the exact same guess. And that player interaction is the first thing that I really like about this game. Every turn that I make, I have an interesting decision to make. Do I bet now on who's going to be winning the leg or who's going to win or lose the entire race? Or do I wait a little bit until I have a bit more information and can bet a little bit more confidently? It's an interesting decision to make, and I find myself when playing this game that I regularly change my mind in the very last minute purely based on something my opponent has done. It's a quite unique take on player interaction, but for this game it works really well. And the second thing that I really like about Camel Up is the simplicity. On your turn, you take one action and only one action. And that one action can be one of 4 possibilities. And that's it. You don't have to have like a huge myriad of options that you could possibly do. There are only 4 things you can do. Pick one and hope that it's the best in that exact moment. It's a very easy thing for beginners to and first-time players to get into and to sort of understand the logic of each of those options and the importance of that decision. But at the same time, it's not so simple and so straightforward that it becomes stale or it becomes kind of boring for more experienced players. It's that perfect blend of being simple and easy enough to get into for first-time players, but not so overly simple that it becomes stale very quickly. That is something that this game gets absolutely spot on. And as for what I don't like, let me tell you a little story. Come on, come in closer. Once upon a time, there was an extremely good-looking man in a black jumper. He was about this tall and wore a really cool banana hat. He went to a board game meetup hoping to convince his new friends to play a game he had just bought called Camel Up. But the people he was playing with didn't particularly like gambling, and they couldn't quite see the appeal of racing camels or not actually racing them, just betting on them. Whoa, that's close enough there. As you can guess, they ended up playing something else. But never one to be deterred, our extremely good-looking man in the banana hat went the very next week to a different board game meetup, hoping to convince some different people to play Camel Up with him. But again, describing Camel Up before these players, it just produced a whole bunch of glum, bored-looking faces, and they ended up playing a social deduction game. Well gang, that really good-looking man with the banana hat was me. And I think that story very much exemplifies what I don't particularly like about Camel Up. The thing is, those positives that I was talking about, you know, the way the player interaction works, the way that the rules and the gameplay is relatively simple but has a surprising amount of strategic depth, those are only things you realise when you are playing the game. And if you want to hook people into the game, if you want to sort of convince them that, hey, this is the game that we're going to play, you know, like a lot of people, I don't particularly like gambling, so a gambling game in its nature is quite a hard sell. And the relative goofiness of the animals that are racing being camels, it's not quite enough to really hook people in and make them go, right, yes, that I really want to play right now. This is way better than any social deduction game I've ever played, but it's quite hard to convince people of that. And the second thing that I don't particularly like about Camel Up, and I am willing to admit that this is purely a personal gripe, It says 2 to 8 players on the box. And the thing is, this game works way, way, way better at the higher end of that player count. My wife and I usually just play games on our own. We were buying this hoping it would work well enough as a 2-player game. But the thing is, that decision that you have to make, do I bet on the leg winner or the overall winner or loser right now so I get more money at the end of the game, or do I wait until I have more information? That tension is what the game is all about, and that doesn't really exist when you're playing 2-player. Why not? Well, because when it's my turn, if I don't do the thing that I'm thinking of doing, then it's okay, because there's only one other player who's going to have a turn, and then it's me again. So the game doesn't really work at 2-player. I have seen that they've rectified this in the second edition. The second edition is officially listed as 3 to 8 players, but I really wish they'd done just a little bit more playtesting and either worked out a 2-player variant or just written straight on the box, this is for 3 players plus. All personal gripes aside, this is a very, very good game. I really love the way the player interaction works, the tension that's building, the simplicity and yet strategic depth of the choices you have to make. But I'm not hugely enthusiastic about its gambling nature, and I can find that can be a little bit difficult to hook people in, and really it should be played by more than 2 people. But I would give this game a score of 4 out of 5 bananas. I'm going to keep it, and I'm going to take it out whenever we have other people round that we can play games with. And yeah, I think you will enjoy it too. It is a very, very good game, and the second edition has some other elements which kind of add in a little bit more, so to speak. I'd love to know what you guys think about this game though. Is it one that you enjoy? What do you like the most? What do you like the least? If you're not somebody who enjoys gambling, then is this a game that would still appeal to you, even though the theme maybe doesn't? I would love to know. But yeah, in the meantime, I shall see you in the next one. Take care, goodbye, and good luck.